Seven Deadly Sins is a fairly new anime, and while that is rare for anime nowadays, it's impressive given Seven Deadly Sins' very straightforward plot. I'll go more in depth into that later. By the way, spoilers ahead. The show is primarily about a young princess by the name Elizabeth Lioness, who is trying to find all of the Seven Deadly Sins so that she can save her kingdom. Eventually, she finds the first sin, who happens to be the captain, Meliodas, and for the most part of season 1, they found the sins while handling the night corruption. This show is filled with heartwarming moments, friendship moments, team moments, and a couple of romantic moments. Another thing I loved about Seven Deadly Sins is that it can be realistic. We don't meet all of the sins at one time. They get thrown off course because of character decision, which definitely makes Seven Deadly Sins a character-driven story, which I give an A++. While there is good, there's also a lot of bad, a lot of cheesy moments, and the most terrible thing I can say about the series is that it's very cliche and corny dialogue. I'm not sure if that's the dub or sub's fault. Not to mention that some of the plot twists are most of the time unpredicted and feels out of place, unneeded. Too many and just ridiculous sometimes. We do have some unfinished, rushed plot lines that could take up episodes at a time, or a good chunk of the season that lead nowhere or add little to nothing to the story. Sometimes the story gets lost and then picks back up, and there is a lot of directing moments that do not make any bit of sense. With my gripes alone, this show shouldn't have such a great standing in the anime community, but there is something that Seven Deadly Sins has going for them. Nostalgia. A powerful and underrated tool that most television writers never even ponder. This fairly new anime has somehow managed to be coated in nostalgia. And yes, it was produced in 2014, and I consider that fairly new, not new, but fairly new in anime standards, especially since it didn't garner too much popularity in its initial release. But many may argue that Seven Deadly Sins has been out a while, so it's understandable if someone feels nostalgia, but not really. See, I watched it back in 2020 and completed 3 seasons, yet after I went to YouTube, played some music, and couldn't help but feel nostalgia, more than appreciation. But after watching a couple of other animes, I never felt that way, even though they were clearly better than Seven Deadly Sins. I tried to scour the internet to see if there was a television show or anime similar, and not any similar enough for me to feel nostalgia. Thus, I began my research, and then it hit me. Seven Deadly Sins is a guilty pleasure show, meaning I shouldn't like it because it has some major plot structure issues, dialogue issues, and character plotline issues that would put a critic to the grave. Yet it's so enjoyable. Before anyone says it, no, it's not the action, because half of the action in here I was bored out of my mind, at least towards the end. Not saying that it was visually or creatively bad, but sometimes it felt purposeless, which I will be discussing in a later video. Besides that, let's look at what exactly nostalgia is and see how this logic can even apply to a series short term. According to Google, nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wishful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. Well, if you're not a critic, or at least not a hardcore one, or a half-hardcore, half-lenient critic like myself, you must likely have happy personal associations with the series. Like I said previously, you have a good dose of fun, creative character moments, and scene moments. The couple pairs really carry the show and ask some heavy, interesting questions. You have Bond and Elaine, Gil Thunder and Elizabeth's sister. You have the main one, Elizabeth the Meliodas. My personal favorite and most interesting, of course, is Diana Kane. I mean, a giant and a fairy writing romance gold. And I must say the direction they take with Elizabeth the Meliodas is pretty interesting, and I honestly have no issues with it. With this alone, the show creates this sentimentalness, but it doesn't stop there. Movies that I watch one time in my childhood doesn't give me nostalgia, but the movies that I watch over and over in my childhood, like Home Alone and War of the Worlds, does. So how does Seven Deadly Sins do it? Keyword: watch. Meaning: repetition. Those sentimental moments in Seven Deadly Sins are repeated over and over in different ways through the seasons and multiple times within a season, overlapping with some music over and over. We always see Elizabeth running after Meliodas. We always see her crying over him. We always see Hawk trying to do something stupid and getting his butt kicked. We always witness Bond being Bond, and King being a stick in the butt, and Diane being that energetic girl. We are constantly being presented these scenarios. However, repetition alone isn't going to cut it. It has to be sentimental, and that means having the audience grow a connection, which we do. Watching Seven Deadly Sins feels like you were there, like a friend to these characters. Characters aren't backstabbing each other, they really love each other, so it makes us connected. So what are the benefits of having nostalgia, and how can a show benefit? Sometimes I watch a good anime, but a part of me never really want to watch it, like, oh cool, and keep it kicking. But if I can get a personal connection, then I will definitely be going back for more. It increased watch time, and more importantly, value. We're not valuing how clever the plot twist is, but rather how special this show means to us. And this value can create super fans who will grow, and eventually you'll see it in the money as well. All in all, Seven Deadly Sins does a lot of things right and does a lot of things wrong. But the things it does do right, like nostalgia, is one thing that is saving a spot near the greats. Not too close of a spot, but enough to be on your nearest otaku's beginner anime list. This has been Paper Cut, and remember, it's just my opinion.